You first build something. And I say something purposely. It doesn't have to be the product. There are a lot of ways, and I'll send links later on, where you can use certain apps, right? Proto.io, for example, is a really cool app to build prototypes, right? Or even a simpler version, just build a one-page website, right? There are websites out there for that too. So you build a one-page website just to see if people want what you're offering, right? So it comes back to the problem that you are trying to solve. So if it's a simple one-page website, you put it up there, what your offer is. That's how Dropbox started. We all know Dropbox, right? That started off as a one-page website pretty much to suss out, it was a litmus test, suss out the market. People responded, yeah, I want, and they went on and built a prototype. Now, back in those days, there was no app called Proto.io. Nowadays, there are so many apps that we can use and other resources and tools to help us really kickstart and grow the business. So back to the point, you yourself have to kickstart that. So if you have a co-founder or a friend that can add value in another way that you cannot, that'll be great. It's always best to do it in tandem or bounce off ideas and so on. But you together can build that initial product, right? It's called MVP, right? Who knows what MVP is? Just hands up or shout out what MVP. Yeah, Product Hunt, Daniel, yes. Product Hunt is another great app, yes. Yes, Marcus. Yes, go on, you Marcus. Minimal viable product. Great. So that's your first goal. Build a minimal viable product. Now, that doesn't have to be the app itself, if it's an app or the real business, right? You're trying to build the minimal viable product, the absolute bare bones minimum. So again, Proto.io is a good one. Once you've done that, then you're basically testing it. You're getting feedback from various sources. There are apps and websites for that too. Really good ones. Again, I'll provide that in links after the talk. You can email me and I'll send it to you if you like. But there are many resources we have at our hands right now. You do not have to leave your house, right? We're all stuck at home through coronavirus, or most countries are. So you can sit at home on your iPhone, on your Mac, do everything from home. You don't have, well, it's always great to get face-to-face feedback from customers, but you can do that online as well nowadays, now that we're almost forced to. So you're getting that hi Carlos, welcome. You're getting that product cycle in place. So you're getting feedback from the customers, and then you maybe iterate, make some changes depending on what their needs are. And once you've got a minimal viable product ready and you see that there is a need that you're solving, that's when you can go out and get some funding. Okay, so who wants to know about funding? I guess I'm assuming it's a question for most people. Again, it's different from franchise business to tech business, and I'm talking now about tech business. Just type in the chat or shout out. Maggie, yes, please.
Yeah, for tech would be the best.
Yeah, cool. Welcome, Galicia. Okay. So about funding, again, I'm going back to the metaphor of building a fire, okay? So first of all, you probably know F&F, friends and family rounds, right? So the first people you go to are those that you already have some sort of trust with. Whether it be your uncle, someone wrote in the chat before, because your uncle's in the business, again, you'll go to your uncle and ask him to put in something, okay? But you need to know how much you need, right? So work that out roughly, okay? Plans are useless unless you execute. So more important is execution over planning. It's good to have some sort of idea, but what I do myself, I get a sheet of paper, a blank piece of paper, white paper, and I love them. People are afraid of starting with a blank bit of paper. I love them. It gives them a chance to put the business plan on one page, okay? So give that a try for those that, looking to put some sort of plan together to raise that money, okay? Even if it's a friend or a family, they're going to want to know what you're going to use it for and where you're going with the business, okay? So on that bit of paper, on that one pager, try not to make more pages. Put all the essentials on one page, and eventually you'll tweak that and put it into a one-page PDF, a bit more nicely outlaid, of course, rather than your own scribbles, and that will be your business plan, okay? So what should be there? First of all, the vision. Okay, that sounds too broad. Oh my God, vision. But you've got to know where you're going. When you leave house, when you leave your home to go camping, to build that fire, or to go anywhere, you have to know where you're going to go. right? Sometimes it's fun just to go out, you know, unprepared and just walk around. But usually we don't do that, right? Usually we know we're going to go shopping. We're going to go camping. We're going to go to a friend's house. We know where we're going to go. So that's your vision. Where do you want to go? Okay. So whether that be in 1 week's time, 1 month, or 1 year, or 5 years, it doesn't matter. Sometimes that vision could be much further out. It could be 10 years out. Okay. But it doesn't matter. Put those 3 stages on that paper. So the first stage could be within the next 3 months. What do you want to do? And on the other extreme, it could be 5 years or 10 years. It could be a crazy vision. Like Bill Gates had that vision. Steve Jobs had this crazy vision. They thought he was crazy. He wanted a personal computer on every, in every house. That's insane, right? But now we all have that, right? So it doesn't matter how insane that is. That will be your long-term or extreme long-term vision. And then you'll have something in the middle, a more realistic vision, and something that's a realistic timeline, usually 3 years, okay? So your goal also in the business is to exit the business. You want to sell the business. So usually tech businesses are sold between 3 to 7 years, right? If you aim for 3, it'll end up being 5. If you aim for 2, which is unlikely, it'll be 4 or 5. If you aim for 5, it'll be 7 or 10, right? So rule of thumb, again, for most plans and budgeting especially, is you double it. Whatever you've planned for, just double it. And that's going to be what it's going to end up being most likely, okay? That's just the general rule of thumb, okay? So funding. How much do you need? Again, this goes through phases. Again, back to the fire metaphor. So when you first build a fire, you need twigs. You're not going to get VC funding. You're not going to get angel funding. You're going to get that after you get traction. And we'll get into traction a little bit later. But right now, you're building that MVP, and you need to hire a designer. Or maybe you have a designer friend to save you some money, okay? You need to hire certain basic staff, maybe a VA or a virtual assistant. There'll be certain elements which you yourself cannot do. So you need to bring in others who can do that, okay? So you need some minimum money, whether it be $1,000 or $10,000, it doesn't matter. You need to start with something. With that, you're going to build that MVP. And that MVP is going to get you traction after some iteration, like we discussed before. Once you've got that happening, and you can see traction means basically that people want the product, okay? It's growing, okay? If you put the product or the website or whatever that is on the marketplace, and people don't react, well, then you know something's wrong. You're not solving their problem. So go back to square one, okay? Tweak and change. And that's a continual process. You're not going to hit gold in one strike. You've got to continuously go back and keep digging, okay? Until you've iterated it, until it gets to that sort of that traction phase. And that's when you can finally go out and get angel money. And this day and age, you've got so many resources. Angel list in Silicon Valley, it's in Japan, it's all over the world now. You have certain angel lists. Czech Republic, unfortunately, doesn't have that, and other countries don't have either, but it doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't matter. You can go out to anyone, anywhere in the world right now, if you have the right product that is solving a problem that people need to be solved, right? So with those early figures, your traction figures, in other words, you have grown the first month by X amount, and you'll have numbers there, okay? Depending on your type of business, you'll have different KPIs. So you'll have to set out these KPIs in your plan. Okay, so again, back to that plan, right? 1-page plan. What are your goals, right? We went from vision, now goals. One of those goals will be setting these KPIs. Other goals will be, who do you need on board? Is it a co-founder? Is it a designer? Is it a secretary? Is it a developer, right? Like Carlos, you're a web developer. So, people need your services, right? But you can't develop everything. Do you know Python? Yes or no?
I code in like React, which is a framework of JavaScript.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So,
then like obviously HTML and CSS.
yeah. So each person like you yourself have certain languages which you can master, and there are other languages which you do not know. You will either learn them, and a lot can be done online. I had another Zoom call a while back, and it was a 15-year-old guy, student, boy, young man, whatever, who wanted to know, what was it again? Should he hire someone to do a certain task, or should he raise money to do it, or should he learn it himself? So he was probably referring to programming. So if you can't program, you either have to learn it yourself or hire someone to do it, or give them a piece of your company, right? So that's why usually in most startups you'll have as a co-founder a dev right-hand man. So you'll have the business guy, Steve Jobs, for example, and you'll have, you know, the tech guy, right? Usually, it doesn't have to be. You can hire, you can bring in a tech guy, right? It doesn't have to be a CTO, it'll be just simply a developer. But again, you need to know what you're developing, because certain apps require different languages. Some require Python, some React, Java, and so on. There are so many different languages now. We cannot be a master of all. So that's, again, important. So again, back to that one-page plan, you've got the vision, you've got goals, and at the bottom of this pyramid, if you want to put it into some sort of pyramid, action points now. What can you do today, right now? If you've set out time to write this plan on a bit of paper, and just scribble it, you'll make mistakes, you'll change things, that's fine. You'll eventually, once it's all put on paper, you'll write out a clean version, okay? But initially, just write anything comes to mind, put on that bit of paper. That's the only way you can start. And with any business is to start. Get off your ass and do it right now, right? Not tomorrow, right now, basically, right? If you really want to do it, sometimes it's good to sleep over it. So you'll sleep over these thoughts and ideas you've had on your bit of paper, your plan, and things will change, right? And as you're going through the process of actionizing these points, for example, I want to hire a developer or a designer, for example, you're going to have problems along the way. There always will be problems. You've gone to Upwork, for example. Upwork is a marketplace where you can hire staff, right? Virtual assistants, designers, programmers, anything, right? There are many other offers as well. Freelancer is another one, for example. My friend runs that, he's an Aussie. But you will run into problems. You'll probably get so close to hiring someone and then something will happen, they won't turn up or they won't reply or whatnot. So always keep your options open. I personally always love to have not only a backup plan, but have 3 options, always. It's my magic number 3, right? That's how many premierships we won yesterday too, by the way, 3. So 3 is my lucky number. Have 3 options because the first one will usually not work out, right? Then you go to your backup plan and you got to have a backup plan for the backup plan if you can, right? At least 2, but try and get 3. So once you've got this the vision, your goals, what you want to do with the problems you're trying to solve, and you got this action point, all you have to do is go out and do it. It's as simple as that. Go out and do it, right? And you'll come across stuff you can't do. That's fine. There are so many resources, again, which I'll provide you later on, where you can just, boom, one click, and you've got access to someone who can do it, okay? So anyway, I've talked enough. I'm just talking. I see so many people joined in here. Hi, Emmanuel, Walton, Trevor, Alice, Ryan. If I've missed out anyone, say hi. And again, for those that didn't hear me early on, please unmute yourself and feel free to talk and ask any questions. So I'm putting the stage to you guys now. If you have any specific questions, fire away and I'm happy to answer. In the meantime, I'm going to read what's in the chat here. Emmanuel's from Pakistan. Emmanuel asked, what's a virtual assistant? So a virtual assistant is a personal assistant, but you don't see them physically. They're virtual, right? So I have a number of virtual assistants. 1 or 2 of them are in Philippines. And in fact, 2 of them I've never met in my entire life. One of them I met by chance last year for the first time ever. After working together for 5 years, she came to Prague with her husband and kids, and we met for the first time. That was amazing. And we felt like we already knew each other. We have never met. We hardly did video chats. It was all SMS, WhatsApp, Skype, and so on, over 5 or so years. So that was quite amazing. So a virtual assistant is someone who you don't meet, but physically that is. But in this day and age, especially this year, we've got Zoom, right? So it's far easier. People didn't use Zoom years ago. What else is here? Is the US best for getting tech capital? Depends where you're from, Marcus. So if you're based in the US, definitely yes. If you're not based in the US, maybe yes, right? Depends where. So first, best to try your own local market. So if you're saying, where are you from, by the way, Marcus? I forgot. Too many chat messages here at the moment. Just put it out there. Where you're from, Marcus? Other questions probably. So anyway, so wherever you're from, Marcus, look in your local market there. So if you're from Europe, for example, again, that's very fragmented. So which country in Europe are you based out of? go to those markets. You're from Toronto, goes to Canada. Canada's got a pretty decent startup ecosystem there. In fact, Cameo, if you know the app Cameo, I won't pull it up here, but it's an app, very interesting app that came out of Canada, right? And if you're based out of Vancouver or Toronto, you will know. So yep, there's some good businesses coming out of Canada. So there's a good ecosystem there. So go there first. What are some mistakes you wish you could have avoided? Anything you wish you knew before you started your business? Yeah, that's a good question, Maggie. You always want to, you know, it's always better in hindsight, right? Some mistakes, a lot of mistakes. You always make mistakes, but the big thing from mistakes is only one thing: you got to learn from them, right? If you're going to make the same mistake over and over again, that's never a good thing, right? So you make a mistake. There's events called fuck up nights, right? So from the fuck up that you have done, learn from that, and you can go talk at one of these fuck up nights and help others not to fuck up in the same way, right? That's what I'm here for right now, right? If I can help you guys to save you that learning curve from my mistakes. So what are some of my mistakes? Okay. Not being aggressive enough. I'm a pretty aggressive person, but at some points I wasn't aggressive enough in selling the company, right? And again, I didn't know that an earthquake was going to hit the town, right? So one example was when I was at South by Southwest. It was a huge tech conference. For those in the tech business will know, South by Southwest. It's the #1 tech conference in the world, and definitely go there if you're in the tech business. That's in the States, obviously. I was planning to exit the business in another couple months, do this huge launch party, invite VC investors there, others, and so on. It was all lined up, it was all planned. I could have approached these investors separately, individually beforehand, but I decided not to. I decided we'll get them all in together, put on a huge event, and you know, entertain them after that. But what happened was the bloody tsunami hit Japan. And because my business was focused around the Japanese market, we had a co-event with other Japanese companies involved. There was 3 of us in total. It really stuffed up our business, the planes at least anyway, right? So the event did not take place, or it did take place, but it became a fundraiser for the tsunami victims in Japan, which is a great thing to do. But it took the focus away of selling the business, promoting the business into a fundraiser. And little did I know that this would affect, you know, many things down the track. So that was a big mistake that I made. I should have been a bit more proactive, a bit more aggressive there. Starting business in tech like drone making, is it necessary to make the business highly established in locally, or use commerce and make it worldwide? Trying to understand this question. Is it necessary to make the business highly established locally? So I'm assuming, well, business like drone making, okay, there's certain businesses which require a lot of capital. They're capital intensive. I'm assuming most of you guys, you don't have to worry about that, right? So focus on businesses that you can start with minimal capital, right? Of course, if you're a genius in a certain area and you feel confident, you have the network in place to raise large amounts of capital, then feel free to go into capital intensive businesses like Rafid is saying in drone making. But I don't think this applies to most of you here. So my tip for you would be focus on something that you can manage easily yourself and something that requires less capital, okay? So you can basically grow the business through angel investment. And so when I talked previously about friends and family, that's usually in the tens of thousands of dollars. Then you graduate to angel level. Angel level is usually hundreds of thousands of dollars. Once you've proven yourself in the business through the angel phase, then you can go into VC level, which is in the millions of dollars. And VC, you've got Series A, Series B, and so on, okay? So Series B is usually tens of millions and so on. So basically, you know, multiply it as you go along through these phases. Very broadly speaking, that's how it works, okay? So first, friends and family, prove that the business has got, you know, a position, it's going to solve someone's problem, and then you can go out and raise the angel capital, hundreds of thousands, okay? What other questions do we have? What do you think are the technology trends in the next 5 to 10 years? Okay, who's there for Alice? So Alice, thanks for the question. 5 to 10 years, well, I'll say this for now, and it's very applicable to our day and age right now. What has happened this year in this bloody Corona year, I'm saying that on purpose, it's Corona crisis for many, and everything that's negative, there's always a positive, but I'll get onto that later. But in this year, which has affected so many people and businesses around the world, what was going to happen in 10 years has already happened now, in this 1 year. This very call ourselves now Zoom. Who heard of Zoom last year? Any of you? Any of you heard of Zoom? Say yes, no, hands up. Or did you use Zoom last year at least? No. No. This is one of the things. It was all Skype. Yeah. So everyone was Skype. Skype is dead in the water pretty much, right? It was already dying anyway, but since Microsoft bought it. But now it's all Zoom. And the story behind Zoom is, again, another example of an entrepreneurial idea. The guy was working at WebEx, I think as a developer, and he had an idea. He went to his boss to suggest the idea. I've got a way we can improve WebEx. Because WebEx sucked, right? It was the UX was terrible. UI was terrible. It was very hard to use, basically. So he had a better idea. But his boss said, no, we're earning enough money. The revenue is pretty strong. We don't need this right now. Go back to work. So he basically gave him the thumb up, or the finger up, and went off and did it himself. So he developed an MVP. He raised the money, and here we are today, Zoom. Very successful company. All built out from one idea which someone else rejected. So if someone's going to reject your idea, don't worry about it. That's another lesson I've learned, right? Very early on. People are always going to say, hey, it's not going to work, it's shit, it's wasting your time, but work out a way. If you guys are budding entrepreneurs or already are entrepreneurs, you will find a way, right? You will find a way. Okay, other questions here? Yes, best capital. Okay, I think I've answered all. If there's any questions I haven't answered, feel free to shout out. And I'd love to hear your voices, please. So unmute yourself or your video. I'd love to see your faces and talk to me directly. It's much easier than reading. Otherwise, feel free to type something in the chat there. You had someone here with, I can't read the links right now. Hello, my name is Mugisha. I'm open to, right, okay. So franchise business. Franchise business, I'll just touch on it briefly until someone else has some other questions for the tech. So I was involved in franchise business early on before, even internet existed. I helped start up 2 Japanese franchise businesses. One of them is a global renowned company. It's called Duskin. It's based out of Japan. They run the Mr. Donuts chain. So before that, I helped set up Sun Mary. It's a bakery chain. It was, again, a Japanese chain. I was in university like you guys are, or not all of you, but some of you are. And I was studying marketing business. And I went to Japan for 1 year, came back, and I got a phone call in those old dial phones, if you remember, not a mobile phone in those days, dial phone. And there was a guy called Alan Naito who asked me if I want to help them set up their business in Australia, their franchise business, which I said, why not? So I quit university, continued on studying at nights, the weekends, but my main full-time job was becoming marketing manager and assistant to general manager of this franchise chain. So that was my first franchise business. We became #1 in Australia, huge hit. And the word got out, and I got hired by another Japanese company who flew me to Japan for an interview, and they wanted me to set up their global network as well in the franchise business. So, and we became #1 as well. So it was very successful, but this was all before internet days. So franchise business was a very high growth business in those days, but now it is high growth, but internet business or tech business is exponential growth. Right, so I can't remember who it was, but someone mentioned their hotel franchise business. There are going to be new ways that you can leverage the physical businesses. Hotels are not going to go out, of business. There's always going to be a need for people to live in rooms if they're traveling somewhere, right? Whether it's going up or down is another question, but there'll always be a need, just like food. We will always need food. So there are certain industries which will always carry on. So in the franchise business, you can work out a way that you can incorporate the tech, leverage tech in some way to create a new business. Why do something which has existed for tens of years, right? you can come out, use your entrepreneurial flair, your ideas, thoughts, and again, think about what problems exist right now. What do you wish existed? That's where it all starts. And if your wish, what existed, applies to tens of others, then you're on your way. Ask more. If it applies to hundreds of others, great. Start something. If then it applies to thousands or hundreds of thousands, you've got yourself a business. But it starts with that one particular thought in your mind and one bit of paper, okay? So other questions here. Maggie, what skills, characteristics do you think are important to be a founder? A founder or entrepreneur. You've used the word founder as aside from entrepreneur, but they're usually very similar, okay? There are differences. You have to be, well, not only persuasive, but persistent. Things will stuff up along the way. Things will go wrong, right? At the beginning, it's like dating, right? A good metaphor for business or starting a tech business is also thinking about dating, right? You're not going to marry someone on the first sight, right? Just like you're not going to raise money, VC money from your idea. It's ridiculous. You're going to want to entertain. You're going to want to get to know them, right? You go out for coffee, you talk. It's the same thing when you're starting the business. So a founder has to be able to do all these things. He has to do be skilled at so many areas. An ideal founder will be able to do design, program, marketing, VA, assistant, everything, raise money and so on. But as you grow, you have to delegate those tasks, right? So you know what you're best at. So that's going to be your core value add. And then you have other skills around that, which either you can or cannot do. Those that you can do and you don't have someone else, well, go ahead and expand on that. Learn more about that. So learning is another skill, obviously. But then you'll delegate that to others who can do that better than you. So another skill or knowledge characteristic is to hire people that are better than you, okay? You are going to be good at one thing or some things, but your skill or one skill you have to learn is to hire people better than you. Don't be scared. You're going to become a far bigger and better company and a person by hiring people that know more than you do, okay?
How do you find good people?
Someone talked to Maggie, was it? Yeah, go ahead. Say it again, Maggie, please.
Yeah, how do you find good people to hire?
Okay, good question. How do you find them? So again, different sources. Upwork is one way. There's an app called Upwork. It's a website as well, upwork.com. You sometimes find great people there, but it's usually good people, okay? It's sort of middle ground. But you do find superstars there, and I've found some superstars there as well, because they're looking to do something extra on the side, right? Or they're looking to do something else aside from the main business. So you do eventually find a diamond amongst those. Another way is to attend tech events. So there are so many around right now. Now there's a lot more virtually, they're not physical, but you know, you're gonna have both, obviously, physical events and so on. So choose the right events to go to. It's no point wasting your time at irrelevant events. So there are certain events which are absolute gold. Again, magic number 3 levels. The top events in the world, South by Southwest, TechCrunch, Launch. There's a whole bunch of these top tier events. And the second tier, there's another list. And the third tier, the things that happen in your local area, which nothing major, but you might find someone that you want to work with, whether it be a designer, assistant, or someone else. Anything else, Maggie?
Yeah, I had another question. What's the hardest about starting your own business?
The hardest thing, there's a number of things that are always tough, but one thing is raising money, right? And raising enough. And again, I go back to the fire metaphor. You can't raise too much early on, right? And you can't raise not enough. It's got to be just enough to get you to the next stage. So again, that goes back to the plan. So you know what you want to do. You know your plan. Then you can work out a rough plan, right? Don't go too much detail on Excel spreadsheets and working out, you know, fine tuning to the nth degree, the amount that you need to raise. It's going to be broad anyway, and usually it's going to be doubled, okay? So get in there, get your hands dirty, and work out roughly how much you need, roughly, right? Go out and try to raise that. If you can raise a little bit more than you really need, because you will need that. But don't raise too much, because you're going to give away too much of the company. So that's the balancing act. And in anything in life, whether it be personal life or business life, balance is a key, right? Balance is a real huge key in anything in business or life. Xavier's asking, sorry for joining late. Okay, hi Xavier. Okay, it's late, but that's fine. I'm glad you're here. Daniel, how much of the company should you give to investors at the start? Okay, so again, how much to give out and how much to raise is, like I said before, just enough to get to the next stage. And only you will know that. Usually, ballpark figures, like I said before, I don't know if you were on then or not, but friends and family stage, tens of thousands of dollars. You get to the angel stage, it's usually hundreds of thousands of dollars. VC stage, it's, again, multiply that. So, you don't want to give out too much of the company. You want to be in control of the company, which means more than 50%, okay? So you've got to do the numbers on that, right? And that's a one-on-one thing, basically. You've got to work out case by case. But BC stage, what is that? BC, oh, VC, not BC, VC, okay? Venture capital, okay? VC means venture capital, like VA means virtual assistant, so VC, okay? So VCs there, you can find them in the world, anywhere in the world, pretty easily, but you're going to go through a lot more hurdles before you get to that stage. So don't worry about that now. Worry about what you can do right now, today, okay? So again, ask your uncle, like one of you guys said before, your friends, family, those people that trust you, that know who you are, because if you are the person that you claim to be, that you can make this happen, they will know that. They will have some belief in you, and they'll be able to put up something. It could be a loan. It could be a stake in the company. It's better to get a stake in the company rather than a loan, okay? Loans work out later down the track where it's called a convertible note, okay? It's not called a loan, but effectively it's a loan which changes into shares later on when you know the valuation, okay? But it's in a simplified way, it's basically a loan, okay? Loan until it turns into shares. But that's down the track when you're talking angel and VC. What is that? VC, angels capital. So VC, yeah, VC is large angels capital. Yeah, so again, friends, family, angel, VC. They're the three levels you have to go through, right? Again, like building a fire. If you put on VC money, in other words, these huge logs on a tiny little fire, you're going to kill the fire, right? It's not going to happen, right? It's not going to light up, right? You need small twigs. You need your uncle, your friends, your family. Light that fire, and you're going to have to hang around the fire initially. You're going to have to add a little bit more, right? You're going to get smoke in your eyes. Something's going to spring out of the fire. You're going to get burnt, right? Shit happens in life. Shit happens in business. But then once you've got that fire to a stage where you can leave it on its own, you can sit back in the chair, and others can collect wood and add to that fire. That's when you're on that preparing for the angel phase, okay? Then you start adding thicker pieces of wood, right? Again, that's angel phase. And these big, huge logs, that's the VC stage, okay? So I hope I've answered that. How to get attendance done. Attendance. Rafid, if you can explain that one, please. Maybe in audio, if you're able to. How to get attendance done. I don't know what you mean by that. Daniel, in the meantime, how about the companies that get millions in funding? Is that VC? Yes, Daniel. Millions in funding, it could be angel, but it's usually VC, okay? There's no fixed and hard rule that means that angel is only hundreds of thousands of dollars. It can be a few million as well, right? If you know Jason Calacanis, who runs the Launch Conference, he voted for one of my startups many years ago. Great guy. He's really a god. I respect the guy highly. He knows the startup space inside out. If you want to learn about startups, tech startups, go listen to his podcasts. He's got hundreds of them, right? In fact, I think he had his thousands recently. So he's a god in this space. And he's an angel investor. He would invest either $50,000, it could be a couple $100,000, or it could be a couple $1 million in the later stage. Whether he calls that angel investing, which it is, or a VC, then it's sort of irrelevant, right? So usually, rule of thumb, VCs are multi-millions of dollars and angels are a couple $100,000 to a couple $1 million. It depends on the business, right? It depends on what they're going to get out of it. Again, you can work backwards. You can see what other competitors are doing in this space. But you can see what the potential exit is. If your new business has a potential exit of, say, $10 million, that's nothing, right, in this space. If it's a potential exit of $1 billion, then you're talking. It's usually somewhere in between, right? But you will know that. And how do you know that? looking at what else is happening in the market. So if you're looking at Airbnb, for example, in its earlier stages, they also thought this is crazy business. Who's going to want to rent out their house, right? Who is going to want to do that to earn money? At that point in time, no one did. A year later, suddenly, a crisis hit. People need to earn a little bit more money. And so they were willing to rent out a room in their house to earn a bit of extra cash. So one other key factor in running a business is timing. Timing is essential. It is something you can and cannot control, okay? So some timings you can't control. The earthquake or the tsunami, in my case, we can't control. Coronavirus, we can't control. But there are so many things around this that we can control, and timing, usually we can't, but there are some things that we can. If you're getting off your butt and doing something, attending an event, writing a plan, speaking to someone, picking up the phone, calling, sending an email, that's all, they're all actions, they're all tasks. And because you're doing these tasks, you're creating something, you're moving forward, you're creating some momentum, and then timing will happen. By that, I mean, you'll hit someone. When I say hit, I mean, you'll send them an email, you'll speak to them at the right time, you'll go to the conference at the right time, and the right timing may create an opportunity, right? So timing is not something you cannot control. You can control a lot of the timing by doing something. Think of Nike, just do it, right? Whatever it is. And most of the things in life and in business come from the least expected moments, the least expected outcomes. I've attended events, for example, I went to the Sydney Olympic Games and we were filming some stuff there and we didn't have tickets, right? We can't get in, no tickets, no invitation. It was impossible security, you can't get in. So my Japanese cameraman said, I'm not gonna go, it'll be too embarrassing to get kicked out by the police or whatnot. I said, stuff that, I need to get in there, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna find a way. I got in and it was a great time. But what I didn't expect will come out of this is one particular friendship, which I have to this day, over so many years now, what is it, 20 years, which has led to so many other opportunities in my life. And this all came about from a moment in time. It was a split-second decision, go in or go out. Risk making a fool out of yourself or staying outside or not. My friend or colleague rather didn't, and he got what he deserved. I got in and it opened up a new world. And was I to know that? Was it part of my plan? Of course not. No way. So timing is everything. And we only create these opportunities by taking actions, doing stuff. How did you start your startup journey? Ryan is asking. How do I start? Well, I was a kid. I was about this small. So I was, my first entrepreneurship was when I was about 5 or 7. I drew paintings. Again, number 3. I don't know why, but I had 3 different levels of paintings. One with 2 cents, one 5 cents, and one 7 cents. And I drew them. It wasn't a painting, actually. I just drew stuff. And I'm a terrible drawer, right? I'm shocking. I can't sing, I can't draw. Terrible. But I drew it, and I went around to houses, knocked on the doors, and asked them if they wanted to buy it, right? Some I sold. So I made money to make for lollies and chips and whatever else I bought, right? So that was my very first. I'll never forget that. Then I moved, I graduated to selling ice. I mean, the ice, water ice, right? So it's all free from the tap, right? Turn the tap on, you got water. I froze in the freezer, my parents' freezer. I was 10 years old then, and I sold it in front of our house on the, by the road, 50 cents a bag. I made a fortune out of that. So I made so much, I actually had to hide the chips under the bed, right? So that were the baby days. And then I got to your age when I was a teenager at university, where I was importing, exporting stuff from Japan, selling cassette tapes. I graduated there selling golf courses, diamonds to these huge VIPs. It was insane. I was involved in such crazy deals. It was unbelievable. So I built my network out. And that's another key thing in building a business or in life, relationships, right? I'm refraining from using the word network. People like to say build a network. I don't like that, because just because they're in your Rolodex or in your contacts, it doesn't mean you have a relationship with them, right? If you have a good relationship with a lot of people, there's always someone you can turn to when you're in need of something, right? It could be one piece of advice. Hey, what do I do about this, right? Sometimes you can call it a mentor. It could be a piece of advice, could be anything. So building relationships, do not burn bridges, right? So back to the point of startup journey. So that were my initial stages when I was your age. And then when I was, I think 21-ish or something like that, 18 or 21 thereabouts, I created these, it was called High Life. It was a merchandising business where I was, had these 12 fun, unique, sporty characters on different types of merchandise. And I gave up a huge job opportunity to pursue this. That goes back to my craziness, because I had this huge opportunity to become a director, the first ever non-Japanese director in a huge global company. But their condition of me joining was that I would give up my side business. And this was just a side business. I did it on the weekends, at nights, and it wasn't getting in the way. But they said, if you want to become a director and be full on a business, you have to give up all your side activities. So I decided not to, and I went on and pursued this. So there are these big risks you have to take. That's another factor or characteristic of a founder entrepreneur. You'll always take risks and you don't know what the outcome will be, right? Maybe that was a bad decision. Some days I do think that was a bad decision, right? Because that could have led to much bigger opportunities. Because that business didn't really become a major success. It became successful to a degree, but it wasn't the major success that I wished it would be. Why? I made a huge mistake. I spent too much money on patents and trademarks, right? Because someone told me, but I didn't get the right piece of advice from the right person. So I spent too much money on this, and then I didn't have enough enough money to grow the business. So keep enough money to market the business is another tip I would give anybody. So yeah, so startup journey, so that was my journey. And then I went on to franchise business. And then when internet hit in the early 90s, I developed a TV network online. It was a broadband streaming company. And that was the first business. So the lesson I learned from my first tech business, this was around the year 2000, where the crisis hit, and suddenly there was no money around. Tech bubble burst, boom, everyone was bankrupt, and the VC money that we had promised from a VC company called Yazam didn't come through, or was delayed, but eventually didn't come through. That eventually stopped that business. But the mistake I made there was being too early. So again, it goes back to that key point, timing, right? It's like body surfing. Whoever here body surfs knows that if you're too far ahead of the wave, you're going to get drowned in the wave. If you're too far behind, you'll never catch it. You've got to catch the wave at the right time so that the momentum of the wave will drag you to the foreshore, right? So I was too early. I was the pioneer. We were streaming videos online, which really no one was doing in the world. Then we moved to mobile, right? Again, if you're too early, you have pride, but you don't make money, right? You've got to hang in there for years before the market catches up to you. So you have enough money that you can hang around, great. If you don't, wait off a bit, right? Again, timing. Do you have a personal website or LinkedIn? What are your thoughts on LinkedIn for making connections? Okay, it's from Galicia. No, I don't use LinkedIn. I hate LinkedIn. Sorry, because I used it at the very early stages because I had friends who were in LinkedIn who actually, set it up and all this. But I got too many requests for connections, introduced me to someone else. I said, that's it. I have my own connections. I don't need it. So I haven't used it since. I'm on Facebook, obviously, so you can catch me on Facebook here. JD Speaker. If you just Google JD Speaker, the website you are, so the website is about.me/JD Speaker, right? So the About Me site, which I would advise anyone here to get that as well as a business card. It's a one-page website called about.me, and you can set up your own personal profile website, instantly, right? And it's just basics, but you can link it to other pages. So on there, you'll get my email address if you want to email me to get links to certain tools that you can use, apps that are useful. I'm happy to share that with you guys. I really want to help you guys, create your businesses and then grow them. So don't be shy. You can ask me questions on email if you like. I want to see you guys succeed, okay? I wish I knew what I know now when I was your age, right? So unfortunately, I didn't have a mentor. I learned the hard way. But nowadays, you have got the opportunity to ask people like me, and there's many others around that you can ask advice for, right? So I'm here for you guys and happy to help. So anyway, other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly that
Yes, go ahead.
we're like past our time, but that's okay. I really like how you're able to kind of answer people's questions. So if people have more time, then to stay, and if that's okay with you, JD, if like they have,
I'm okay. I'm cool.
yeah, if they have more questions to ask, like I can keep the call open for longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if anybody is not shy, turn on your video camera. I'd love to see your face. And if you are shy, again, unmute yourself and talk to me, as a few of you have. And if you don't want to do that, just type. I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. So welcome new people, Xavier, Oliver, Emmanuel, Trevor, Walton. If you can just mention what or how old you are and what business you want to get into, and if you've already done some sort of business. They're the questions I asked earlier on. So someone's asking, yes, me too. I don't really like LinkedIn. At this point, I just do my weekly check-in to accept connections. Yeah, right. That's on LinkedIn. Yeah, Facebook's chewing up enough time. Social media chews up so much time. You've really got to focus, you know, what's important. So I'm sure, look, LinkedIn is useful. It definitely is. But I found it to be more useful for those people looking for a job. It's not so much the case now for entrepreneurs. So yes, I guess if you want to, and if you have the time to manage that, then by all means, go out and get LinkedIn. But I'm just extremely time poor, so I don't want to add more social media to what I already have. I just asked if this session over. It's technically over, but we're continuing on if you have questions. So I'm here for you guys.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that like we are past our time, so if you have to go, then that's totally fine. But if you have more questions, then feel free to stay and ask JD more questions.
Fire away. Anyone else want to ask something? I've got a question for any of you. Is there something right now? Is there a business right now that you want to start? Is there something that you want to like do something today or tomorrow, but you don't know where to start? And if that's not the right question, then what is your next step is what I would ask. If you already have something in mind, what is your next step in your journey?
Hey, JD, I got a quick question. What's your thoughts on Y Combinator?
Fantastic. I know them personally back in the early days, 2010-ish. So Graham's a great guy. He's run a great company. Definitely, if you can get into Y Combinator, great. And there are more like them now. Back in the day, they were unique, but there's many more like them. But they are cream of the crop. So yeah, thumbs up. But look, again, you've got to be in the States usually, right? So look where you are locally. I think you're in Canada, right? So that's fine. If you don't mind moving to the States, then by all means, go ahead and do that. What I did when I was moving to the States, when I was running one of my tech startups back in 2008, 9, 10, is I was traveling to San Francisco and Silicon Valley so often that people thought I was living there. So I technically moved there, and I was going between Prague, Japan, and Australia. But pretty much I used Home Exchange. There was no Airbnb in those days, so it was for free accommodation. So I just had to do that in advance. While I was away from my house, people could live there, and I lived there for free. So you save a lot of costs that way as an early startup when you're a poor startup. So yeah, try and go to the local market, but there's probably somewhere local, another Y Combinator type of company in your own local market. So that's probably the easiest step. Anyone else? I see Galicia. Walter's from New Jersey. Cool. Does anyone here know South by Southwest or TechCrunch? Yes, no?
No, only
Right,
TechCrunch.
no. Okay, so half know and half don't know. Again, great conferences to go to attend, definitely. Again, what I've learned from TechCrunch, for example, we were admitted into TechCrunch 50, and we were selected as one of the companies that was going to win that. And again, the devil's in the details. We had one bastard, and I will say this purposely, some Korean guy who went around collecting the golden chips that were the chips that were used to vote on the best startups. And he came around to the jars and just took them out when the people weren't looking. And when the word came around to find out which startup had the most chips, like half an hour before the vote was to come around, our chips were gone. This guy stole them, right? So that was guard your golden chips. Making a presentation on stage is also very important. So one of you asked before, another characteristic of a founder, be prepared to make presentations, not only on stage, but also in person. So that's why usually most developers aren't, in the position to present. But I know some who are capable. In fact, one guy I had under my wings in my recent startup, he was a very shy developer, and he wanted to be a bit more, open and get out there. So I was coaching him for a few months, and he slowly overcome his shyness and become a bit more open. So I'm happy where he's at the moment. So it can be done. It can be done. But yeah, generally the founder should be that person that that should go out and present, meet, negotiate, obviously discuss, and so on. What's the most exciting part about having your own business? You're king of your own time. Okay, you can do anything you want, anywhere, anytime. But because the business is your baby, you're basically handcuffed to your business. So it sounds all great, but really you are working 24 hours. So it's a two-sided coin. On one side, you can decide what you do when you do, but on the other hand, you're doing everything for the business and you're sacrificing so much of your life, if not all of it. So it's a two-sided coin. Again, I would say try to find the right balance. When I was involved, I really want to expand and grow extremely fast. So I sacrificed everything, even my health. I was running less, doing less sports, sleeping less, because there was so much to do, so many, just so much to do, you sacrifice everything else. That's not really a good thing, right? Keep fit, keep it fun, create the right culture, and so on. Carlos, thanks for the session, JD. Yeah, cool. Carlos, thanks for having you. I think it was nice having you here. So yeah, that's the most exciting part of having your own business and watching it grow. Because you guys are too young to have kids, but if you have your own kids, it's like creating, you're giving birth to your baby, and then you're watching your baby grow as they grow. So that I will leave on that note. And yeah, when you get to the age of having your own baby and family, growing a business is just like creating your own baby. Thanks, guys. Thanks for attending.
Yeah, thanks for answering my questions. This was very insightful.
Thanks, Maggie.